We need Mayor Mandy. Okay, come on in, Mandy. We need Mayor Mandy. We need her to get rid of DEI. We need her to remove all funding from any DEI projects whatsoever at
I've
the
got
council.
another idea.
Go ahead.
She can put toilets back into changing rooms, back into places.
Yeah.
There's a few of them going missing, isn't there?
And everybody that you appoint, common sense, please.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And this is it, this is what's happening by stealth. So in Winsford, they got rid of Cotswold House. Cotswold House was there. It was a couple of social housing properties that were dedicated to homeless young women. And there was a couple of young women who had kids, but most of them were just single young women. And it was in the borough, the only homelessness shelter, if you like, that was just dedicated for women. Really, really important provision.
Yeah.
They got rid of it. They pulled the funding, the Housing Association. And then that was a few months ago. Couldn't afford it, they said. And now this week, we've had an announcement that same housing association are hosting in a social housing property in an adjacent ward in Winsford, this project which is called Motherwell Cheshire. And they're touting it as if it's a women's project and isn't this great, it's for women and girls. And they do support vulnerable women and girls, but they also include anyone who says that they're a woman or a girl. So what they've done is, by stealth, they've got rid of women-only provision that was single sex, and they've replaced it with something that's trans inclusive, which basically means any bloke or boy who wants in is in. And then the same thing I've noticed with supermarkets as well. Asda and Tesco and Sainsbury's in Wrexham. Now, I don't know if this is just Wales or if this is a wider thing, but I imagine it's wider, but they've got rid of the changing rooms completely. So I think that they've done that so they don't have to get embroiled in this row about who's allowed in the men's and who's allowed in the women's. They've decided, well, we just won't have any changing rooms. And then obviously in places like Primark and M&S, and we've protested this in Chester, they've made them unisex.
Unisex, yeah.
Anybody who wants to come in. So it's, this is everywhere. I want to hear GB News prioritising this higher and what's happening with this witch trial of this nurse. I need to hear more media coverage of this. It shouldn't be relegated to a side issue. Because although we're seeing the end of it in the States, it's kind of almost bringing it even more into sharp focus for me, how bad it is here. And it hasn't stopped here. And in some ways it's getting worse. That's one of the people that there was a few dads that came along to our protest just to say they'd seen online that we were going to hold this protest on Saturday. And they're really worried about this issue. They made a special effort to come into town to say thanks to us, for what we're doing. And one of them commented, they think it's worse than ever in the UK right at the minute, which is just mad. Because just a few months ago, we were ahead of the game in terms of the rest of the world, So we've really got to be hearing a lot more about this on the media, and people need to be prioritising. It's not a side issue. It's half the population. It's what makes us civilised is recognising there's a difference between men and women need certain things in society in order that we're as safe as we can be,
Yeah, well, the next thing is, after all of that, on a more humorous note, I think the men are going to need it as well. I mean, I came out with the dad jokes again, when I went out shopping this morning, and they, I said to this woman cracking cardboard, I went, "Are you getting bored?" She looked at me. She went, "Get out."
You reusing these bad dad jokes as well, mate. Wow.